everyone. So it's about time that we did this. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jaden Kassa, better known as Jaden K Fit on the interweb. And yeah, today I'm just gonna talk, because I don't think I really ever have, about kind of my full story, how I got into bodybuilding, where I started, my entire kind of fitness journey, and I'll post pictures a little bit too of kind of where I was at each stage in my journey. So yeah, let's jump into it. So in high school, I was kind of like in and out of my school had a gym that I frequented and just kind of like messed around. And if you scroll to the very beginning of my Instagram page, you can see everything that was in there. My form is terrible. I really don't know what I'm doing. I've got like some whack shit going on with like the TRX bands. But I was just having fun with it. I was watching, I think like Whitney Simmons, Christy Sella, hope I'm pronouncing her name right. All those girls on YouTube that were very big back in like 2018 and still are. And really just kind of being like, all right, what is the deal with this fitness thing? So I wasn't really thinking about bodybuilding at that point. It was more just like, I'd like to be fit. I'd like to feel good about myself, because during my freshman year of high school, I was kind of eating like shit. Like I grew up in a very like healthy food, pseudo-vegan household. So that's all I was used to. And then I went to school and I was like, oh my God, Pop-Tarts exist. And we kind of delved down that path. So I kind of started dabbling in things that maybe weren't the healthiest for me. And at that time, I was not aware of my food allergies whatsoever. So I was just kind of eating like a dick, and it was starting to show, and my body wasn't responding that well to it. And I started to gain some weight, and I wasn't very happy with it. And I was definitely having some forms of body dysmorphia, as I think we all do when we're freshmen in high school. So from that point on, I decided, you know what? I'm gonna start going to the gym. And at the time I was dating a kid and he had a little gym in his basement and he was like showing me some form stuff and I was like, wow, this is really cool. So then I started going to my little school gym, got on the elliptical, did some weird exercises, and I was very much in like the HIIT high intensity sphere. And I started to see like a little bit of change in my body. And I was like, all right, cool, let's keep running with this. And then we ran a little too far with this, and that kind of enters the next phase of my journey. So the next phase is where things get a little dicey, and that's where a lot of, transformation happened for me, both mentally and physically, and probably the wrong direction. So this is the time when I was sophomore in high school, and I started to have a lot of weird digestive issues. I was getting really cold. I literally couldn't poop. This might get a little gross, but it's the full story, so that's what it is. I was just having like really bad pain, and I was like, okay, something is definitely wrong. That went on for about 4 or 5 months, and then I was like, okay, this is getting really bad, and I went, this is just how it's gonna be. I went 2 weeks without using the bathroom, and my stomach became very distended, very bloated. I was in a lot of pain. And we finally decided to take a trip to the emergency room. We got there. They did some fun stuff to me, and it didn't work. The things that they were supposed to do to relieve those things were not working for me. And I was in shock. I'd never had health problems before this. I never had anything really wrong with me. So I stayed there overnight, came back home the next day, was feeling a little bit better. And then progressively over the next couple weeks, it started really hurting when I was starting to eat things, like anything. It could be like one almond and I was like doubling over in pain. And it started to get really, really bad and really painful. I wasn't having any sort of bowel movements, anything like that. I was in and out of the hospital for a couple of weeks, and I was like, all right, hands up, I'm done. And I slowly just started to cut back on everything I was eating, because at that point it was really hurting me and it was bothering me. Nothing was coming out the other direction, so I was like, guess I shouldn't be doing it. I will put a disclaimer here. I knew nothing. I didn't know anything about nutrition. I didn't know anything about diet. I was following some random shit from the internet and just taking that as gospel, which is not what you should do. So I was kind of already leading myself down a dark and twisty path. Fast forward a couple months, and my lack of eating became very detrimental, and I developed a really bad eating disorder. I developed anorexia pretty badly. I was, I dropped from like 135-ish to like the 115s very rapidly. I started tracking my stuff on MyFitnessPal, and at that point it became less of, okay, this hurts, so I'm gonna keep going to doctor's visits and solve the problem and like figure out a way to eat, and it became more of a restrictive thing. And at that point in time, I had cognitively didn't know what was going on. And I was just kind of like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. I wasn't really aware that it was becoming a bigger problem. So, yeah. I haven't rehashed this in a long time. It's a lot. I was very, very thin. And I kept going to my gastroenterologist with my parents, and my parents were watching this whole thing go down. And they were like, we have no idea what's wrong. Like, she keeps like taking in food, but like nothing's sticking. And it was pretty obvious that I was eating less than I normally do, but I kept playing it off as like, no, it hurts, so I'm not gonna do it. And I was kind of gaslighting everybody around me, including myself. And it wasn't great. It was a very dark time for my entire family in that way. So, we kept going to visits, kept going to places. My GI tract was getting worse. I couldn't really take down any foods. I started developing a lot of really strange allergies. The likes of gluten, I discovered I couldn't eat. Dairy, I discovered I couldn't eat. Chickpeas, bananas, white potatoes, pineapple, blackberries, cashews, a bunch of like very random one-off foods. What would happen is I would eat these things, my face would swell up. Like the underside of my face would just, there was one incident where I had a baked potato for dinner with my family. And the next like 5 minutes I spent in agony on our kitchen floor, and I couldn't stand up because my stomach got so distended, and I couldn't move, it hurt so bad. So all of these things were happening, my eating disorder was getting worse, and things just kind of started to spiral like very much out of control. It got to the point where like I was having pretty severe anorexia symptoms, like I was wetting the bed, my hair was falling out, my nails were cracking. When I got out of bed, my knees would buckle because they couldn't really support me. My joints were getting very weak. If you know what the female athlete triad is, pretty much had that going on for me. So it was not a great time, and mentally I was doing dog shit. Like, it was so bad. I had this weird thing in my head where I was like, no, I look good. Who told me that? I don't know. I was in a lot of danger, and I was doing a lot of damage to myself. I started out with a damaged GI tract, and I made it worse. And I'm still dealing with those consequences to today. Sophomore year into the beginning of junior year, it was really, really bad. I think it was around sophomore year, yeah, I started my account, Jaden K Fit. It's had the original name ever since. And I had it, and I was just posting random workout videos because at that point people were like, oh, she's in really good shape. Little did they know I was just fucked it over myself, but semantics. I started filming, started doing random stuff. It's all up there. You can go look and laugh at me. I leave it up for public enjoyment, saying that we all start somewhere. And I started gaining a little bit of traction just within like my school and my community, and people were like, this is really cool. I never experienced any like backlash per se, to my face at least, of people being like, good luck with that fitness thing. Like, people were always really supportive, and I appreciated that, and also it was fun. So I have, you know, past me did some pretty stupid things, but I do have to thank her for making that account, because without that, I wouldn't have any of this. The reason I decided to recover was really interesting, actually. I worked at a farm stand and vineyard for about 5 years, Jesus. Back when I was in high school, and a little bit before that as well. And one day, one of my teachers from school came into said farm stand, and I was talking to her like she knew me. How was your summer? Like, how are you doing? She had literally no idea who I was. And I was like, hey, so-and-so, like, it's Jaden. And she goes, oh my God, I'm so sorry, and walks out of the store. And I was like, oh, someone who's literally seen me every day for the past 2 years has no idea who I am, like, gotta get it together. And from that point on, I wanted to recover. I decided that I wanted to, which is very much the first step. But it was really rough, and I didn't know what I was doing. I still had not admitted to myself that I had an eating disorder. I just knew I wanted to gain weight after that point. So here I am, stick of a woman, and I was like, you know what's gonna make me gain weight? Just eating a shit ton of food. And then I developed something we like to call refeed syndrome, which is where your body's been deprived of calories for so long that you're like, holy shit, I gotta intake everything, and you literally can't stop. Needless to say, I developed binge eating disorder. And I was going through like a family-sized tub of peanut butter a night. Like I was going through so much freaking food, and like not in a healthy way, like mass amounts of calories per night, and I literally could not stop myself. And then I was still in a very unhealthy mindset, so that led to bulimia. So I was doing that for a while, and the bulimia part of it only lasted for a couple months because I was like, okay, I'm gonna screw up my enamel, I'm gonna screw up my teeth, like my face is getting really puffy, like this ain't worth it. And I was already on the process of like wanting to stop, but it was it's a mental battle. If you've ever been there, and I sympathize with you, you know that it is a mental game. After that, the binging stayed around. That was probably for like a whole year. I just couldn't get it under control. Every day I'd wake up and I'd be like, okay, today's gonna be a new day. Like I am back to a healthy weight. Like I'm fine. I don't need any more food. Like I'm just gonna eat what I need to eat. And every day it'd be the same freaking story. And I just couldn't get a handle on it. I don't remember the day. I don't remember the time. But all of a sudden I woke up and I had a week and I was like, I haven't even thought about binging. I haven't done it. And it just went away after a year. Of course, there was mental work and things like that went into it, but like I did it. And it took me a couple years to really get out of that like food pattern thought in my head where like food was the only thing on my mind. But I did it. So we're past the point, we're past all the eating disorder stuff, still have my shitty GI issues, still having some issues in that department, but like things are getting better. I just kind of learned what my body did and did not like. Things that gave me a reaction, had to stop eating, and to me that was worth it. It didn't feel restrictive. I didn't want to be in pain anymore. I spent all of high school literally being in crippling amounts of pain, mentally and physically, and I was like, you know what? If I can't eat a pastry again, fucking fine by me. So that's where we're at. Now we get to college, and at this point, I am kind of not posting on my fitness account whatsoever. That's like an undercurrent going through like this entire thing. I'm not posting on it whatsoever. And I get to college and I was like, all right, swag, let's do this. And the university gym was right across from my dorm room. And I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's actually do it. Let's actually train. Let's actually eat decently. Now, granted, I was a freshman in college, and you can just imagine what my weekends were like. I was just finally thrust into freedom, and I was like, fucking Trulies, man. And that wasn't great for me. But I did not have like the freshman 15 or anything like that because I couldn't eat a lot of the stuff at the dining hall, so I ended up being a bit more restricted anyway. But we got through it. And I started learning and following, you know, like legitimate bodybuilders and started looking up to them and was like, okay, this is really cool. This whole weight training thing, pretty dope. So I started learning about correct form. I started doing some research. I decided to declare my major as kinesiology major, exercise science concentration. So I started learning a bit more about the body and just kind of things that now to me are very, very common sense after being in this space for such a long time. And I would say it was about sophomore year where I really considered competing. And at that time, I didn't really know what went into it. I had absolutely no idea. I just know it was something I wanted to do. I saw these people being like shredded, very disciplined, and I was like, me, I want to do that. So I decided to quit partying and quit doing all that kind of stuff and really focus on it. Need a quick sip. By the way, this is orange meal and Duralene and glutamine. Yeah, good stuff. The orange Mio has been my kick recently. That and stim-free and Duralene, because my coach told me we need to watch my stims. He's right, we do. Where are we? We are about junior year of college. I really started taking the gym seriously. I found my boyfriend, Evan, who had already competed in a show when I met him. We started training together at first before I decided on like a division. And he was just kind of teaching me about like how to train really intensely. And we did some crazy stuff, like super high volume stuff that was completely unnecessary. But like it did give me that mental edge to be like, I can push my body further than I thought I could. There was one workout we did, and it was like 100 reps of hack squat, 100 reps of leg press, 100 reps. It was like just an 100 rep workout. And it was heinous. And we did the whole thing because we're both delusional. You don't need to do that to gain any sort of muscle. But it definitely did help me be like, okay, even when I think I'm going to give up on something, I'm actually not going to. I can do hard shit. At that point, I was like, I would like to compete soon. Don't know when, don't know how expensive it is, don't know what to do about it, but I'd like to do it. And in there, I kind of set the path in motion. So he told me that my shape was pretty good for wellness. And that was a very new division at the time. Still is, still growing. And I was like, okay, swag, so what should I be doing? And he was like, start training legs 3 times a week. And I was like, all right, dope, let's do it. So I started doing that, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. I have some semblance of hamstrings now. I didn't realize my body dysmorphia was still so what's the word? In the forefront of my mind, that I thought I was a lot bigger than I was. And then I realized, I was like, oh shit, I'm tiny and I need muscle. So I decided that I was just gonna stick to training, stick to eating, follow some sort of plan, and do whatever it took. We fast forward a little bit till like through the summer and start of my senior year. I found my coach, Roman. I almost called him Roman Almax, Jesus. Roman Denton. He has been a blessing, honest to God. We have changed my shape so much from when I started working with him to now. We're prepping for our second show, which is a very exciting one that I'm not ready to share what show it is yet because I don't want the heat. But I think you guys will be very excited as well. So we started working together. He redid my diet. He listened to me about like my GI stuff. We found some stuff that really works for me. And this has been the best year of my life digestively. And if high school Jaden could see where she is now, she would be stunned. She'd be like, not the same person. Who dat? No idea. Because it's a complete 180. And it's been great. I feel so lucky that I've found things that work for me after all this time. So yeah, we did a show this past summer, Jay Cutler Classic. I had a call with Roman and our kind of head coach, Phil Biz. Excuse me, Jesus. And they were like, we should do another show. We know you can get more conditioned than that, let's do it. And I was like, swag, let's go. So then we decided that, you know what? No time like the present. So I'm currently in my senior year of college and taking 19 credits and prepping for a very large show. And you can do hard things. So yeah, that's kind of where we are in the present. I'm very much devoted to bodybuilding in a way that I never thought I could be. That element of control that I needed from my ED, kind of took that and spun that into a really positive light for myself. Where now, like, I'm in control of my surroundings, my environment, my mood, how I perceive things. Like, I don't love going to do fasted cardio every morning, but I'm like, okay, cool, now I get to do fasted cardio. And that really helps me. So taking that control and turning it into something positive was a big win for me, and something I never thought I'd be able to do, but you know, here we are. So yeah, that's kind of a speed version of how I got into this space, how I ended up where I am. It's been a journey, man. We still got a lot more to go. I know this one was very rambly. It'll be more exciting in the future. I just felt like I needed like a clean slate, good introduction, so that people could, you know, kind of see who I am. I really appreciate you all for being here and supporting me throughout this entire journey. It has been a crazy one. And if you have anything that you really want to see in depth, because that's what I'll use this channel for, give me a DM on Instagram, leave a comment down below. And yeah, stay tuned because I'll have a lot more stuff coming out here. So have a great rest of your day. See y'all.